Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my biggest fails or regrets of the year. The year 2021, maybe a little bit from the end of 2020, but you get the idea. These are fragrances that I just couldn't come to love for one reason or another, or maybe I thought they were going to be something that they just weren't. So let's get right to it. I've got 12 fragrances, maybe 13, and then two houses, like overall houses that were just no's for me overall. The first fragrance is Rumeur by Lanvin or Lanvin. Lanvin. I had a viewer correct me. It's not Lanvin, it's Lanvin. This fragrance I had high hopes for. It's a mostly magnolia fragrance, which I've come to learn can be a tricky note in fragrances for me. For some reason, other people pick up this beautiful, clean floral. For me, sometimes with magnolia, I pick up the steel part of it, like steel magnolias. It smells metallic to my nose. And the same was true with this fragrance. I joke that this fragrance smells like a handful of sweaty coins, like pennies. Like if you had a handful of pennies or dimes or nickels or whatever in the summertime and it gets sweaty, the smell of that metallic and the sweat in your hand mixing is what this fragrance smells like to me. And I don't know anyone that wants to smell like that. I tried this several times. I even was hoping that it would smell soapy and clean, maybe shampoo-y. And I kind of got hints of that, but mostly I just got that hand of sweaty coins. No, thank you. Had to go. Next one is beloved in the fragrance community, and you know that I operate off of FOMO more often than not. And I really wanted this fragrance because I thought it would smell amazing. And I think it probably does smell really, really good on some other people. For me, and by the way, I'm talking about pure musk from Narciso Rodriguez. I have all of the cubes from this house, and I love them all, especially the white cube. It's one of my favorites. There's something about this pure musk bottle that I just couldn't get down with. I call it a fail in the sense that it actually is a beautiful fragrance. Like it smells good, I know that, but there's something in the composition that messes with me. It won't let me love it. You've ever gone on that like date with that guy that just seems perfect, but there's some aspect of his personality that just grates on your nerves, and therefore it was never meant to be. It's like that with this fragrance. There's something about this that smells like hot, sugary breath to me that, and not in a good way, that I just, yeah, I didn't want to smell like this. So I had to sell this. It made me sad because I really wanted to love it. Next is Lady Caron or Caron by Caron of Paris. This is a fragrance that has been around for a long time and is supposed to be one of the most beautiful, beloved feminine fragrances, and it just smelled bad to me. I couldn't like this, and I did try to. I sprayed it on and sat with it and let it dry down and all of that. And it just smelled like the deepest, darkest, but stinkiest purple fragrance, like maybe violet or iris, like that family of notes, but like super concentrated with some stunk, uh, woven into the composition. It just didn't work for me, and it made me sad once again because I was expecting to really love this beauty and have her in my collection forevermore. Next, and similar to Lady Caron, and I bought them in the same haul, is Jean Patou 1000. I read review upon review upon review of this fragrance. Another one that has a very long history in perfumery, is beloved by so many people. You gotta get your nose on it. It's a classic. It belongs in every woman's collection. Who doesn't want that? It's supposed to be this gorgeous, like quintessential floral fragrance, and it was just a big fat no for me. Yeah, it was nasty. It's got patchouli and geranium. I think there's a violet note in there, and oak, and it just combined to me to smell, instead of coming across like a beautiful floral, it smelled like a really stinky chypre fragrance that was just too overpowering. And I can't imagine why anyone would want to smell like that. My apologies to those of you that love this, no offense. But yeah, I just couldn't get with this fragrance. I still have it. I don't want to let it go because of its classic status. Crazy Veronica is keeping it in her collection, but I won't be wearing it. Another fragrance that I had hoped to love, but just couldn't get down with. In fact, I don't think I ever talked about it on my channel. I don't think I featured it in a haul. I don't think I talked about how much I dislike this because it was that unpleasant to me. And it's Histoire d'Amour by Obasan. This is a woody chypre fragrance that is incredibly old-fashioned to me, a very dated smell, super strong and pungent in all the wrong ways. It gave a new meaning to the word scrubber. It had to get off of me as soon as possible. So that one went bye-bye as well. Next, we come to Valentina Poudre by the House of Valentino. This bottle is so adorable. Who doesn't want this bottle in their collection? The problem is the fragrance was beyond dull and boring to me. Did I like it? Sure. Was it anything like what I expected? No. This was one that was very, very hyped up on some pretty big channels here on YouTube at one point. And I got the promise that it was going to be this really feminine, girly, pretty fragrance, and it just smelled like shave cream to me, like a gentleman's shave cream. And yeah, don't want to smell like that. It was boring, and because it was such a big disappointment, it had to go. Then there was Blue Silk by Agent Provocateur, another one that I was hoping was going to be this incredibly beautiful, feminine, alluring, sexy fragrance. And it also smelled like bad, hot, sugared breath. Ew, who wants to smell like that? I did try it on skin, walked around, and was just, yeah, that was, I have no words for that one. Next, we have a handful of fragrances that I purchased from Jil Sander. One in particular that I just knew was going to be the happiest, most sunlight infused fragrance ever. I just knew I was going to smell like a clean citrus dream wearing this. It's called Sunlight. And I put this on one Saturday morning. Boy, did I think I was cute. I have a dedicated video to this if you want to go check that out before the family smelled it. Because we got into the little like area, the hallway before we get to our garage. And we're in there getting our stuff together. And my husband and my son are like, what is that? Ew, someone smells like a fart. No one had farted. It was me, and it was that fragrance. They hated it. They made fun of me the entire time. We went to a nursery to pick out some plants. Apparently, my fragrance overpowered the plants, made everything in the nursery wither and die. They couldn't get away from it fast enough. They made fun of me the entire time. I was the butt of jokes the entire morning. So Sunlight by Jil Sander had to go. Next is one that I really wish I liked more. So it's a fail because I was hoping that I would be head over heels for it. And there are aspects of it that I like. And there's something about it that just bugs me in a bad way. And it's This Is Her by Zadig and Voltaire. Another one that has been super hyped on YouTube. I love the bottle. I think it's so cool. There is something cozy, sweater, sweater weather like about the fragrance, and I really want to be able to douse myself in it and love it. But there is this, like, maybe it's like a plastic bag, like a grocery bag, when you open it, that smell inside, a fresh one. There's something like that in this fragrance that is a little too much and is off-putting for me. And so it's a fail, only in the sense that I was convinced that I was going to love the fragrance, not because it's bad. In fact, it's still sitting back there on my shelf, and I'll probably give it another chance. The same is true for the fragrance called Bee, B-E-E, by Ellis Brooklyn, in this gorgeous gold bottle. I love the whole bee motif. In fact, I'm wearing jewelry right now that has a bee motif on it. Yeah, so this fragrance is supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, like this honey amber balm for winter. I forget the exact note composition. I ended up buying a travel spray, and I'm glad that I only purchased a travel spray because it was so heavy as to be cloying. Like it was too much for me, too sweet, too honey-ish, too syrupy, and it was a disappointment in that sense. So I consider even the travel spray a fail because I was expecting so much from it. Next is one that I really battled with quite a bit. I put it on my skin several times. I wore it as a scent of the day several times. And I also got that like strange metallic thing that I was talking about with Rumeur. And it's Zen by Shiseido. I really like this bottle. I think it's a clever design. It's different. Maybe it's an ugly bottle, but there's something about it that I appreciate because it's different. And I do think it's a gorgeous fragrance in the sense that you can liken it to Coco Mademoiselle, which is another fragrance that I have a really difficult time with. I agree that it's a gorgeous fragrance, but it's just something, there's something about it that I can't get with. It's the same thing with Zen. I tried to love it. I think it's one that if I smelled it on someone else, I would think was really pretty, but on me, it just, I could only tolerate it for like 30 minutes before I just got sick of it. There's something about it that's just it just doesn't get along with me. The last fragrance before I talk about the two houses that I want to mention is, and I'm really kind of annoyed about this one. It's Coconut Nanas by Rihanna is the name of the company, Rihanna. So again, another really hyped up fragrance. I love a good coconut fragrance. This one has pineapple in it as well. And it's one that when it opens, you're like, yeah, this is it. This is hitting on the money. And then as it dries down, it kind of fades super quickly and becomes really boring. And it's incredibly oily on the skin. Like you might as well rub it into your skin like a lotion. In some circumstances, an oily fragrance would be good. Like some of my Manceras are really oily and so forth, and it's okay. But this one was almost like slick to the point where I was worried about putting clothing over it. And I found it to be incredibly overpriced for what it was in this kind of dinky packaging. Sorry, but it's just like nautical rope or something like that wrapped around a plain old glass bottle. And for a little like 1 ounce, I think it's a 1.7 ounce or something like that, it's well over $100 for a really average fragrance. And so in that sense, to me, it was a fail and it had to go. Moving along to two houses that I think are just fails for me. One is one that I just have to clarify, there are fragrances in this house that I would absolutely recommend for other people. They don't smell bad. They smell fine. They're just really quite ordinary for what they're advertised to be. And it's Tommy Bahama. Tommy Bahama anything. Are there nice fragrances? Yeah. Do I still have a few? Yeah. Will I still wear them? Yes. But overall, and this is me and my perception. I remember going through department stores and seeing like the lineup of Tommy Bahama fragrances and feeling like they would take you away to the Caribbean. I mean, that's the promise of the Tommy Bahama brand, right? It's like upscale resort wear is what you get with the Tommy Bahama clothing. So I was expecting the same of the fragrances. And while they're pleasant, they're nice. They don't last long. They don't have a lot of power and body to them. They're very light. There are some that you will see me recommend, for example, next summer as we get into those dog days of summer, because I think they're appropriate for that. But overall, like the promise of what Tommy Bahama advertises versus what you actually get in this really short-lived experience is just kind of a disappointment to me. And finally, I'm sorry to all the folks out there that love this house, but it's the House of Byredo. Yeah, so I never actually purchased a fragrance from this house, and I don't think that I will. I ended up getting a big sampler set from Byredo, and every single fragrance, while it smelled pleasant, was incredibly light on the skin, light in texture, had very little to no oomph at all and very low lasting power. Maybe there are some exceptions in the house, but by and large, for the prices on these fragrances to be as high as they are, for the packaging to be as dull as it is, and for the fragrances to be as maybe watery and not long lasting as they are, I just can't get down with it. So I would say even the sample pack in that sense was a big fail. I did manage to sell off what I have of it, and so there was no love lost. But yeah, I mean, in comparison to what I was expecting based on all the hype on YouTube, unfortunately, I just couldn't get down with the Byredo fragrances. So those are my biggest fails or regrets of the year. There are more. The reason that I included these in here is because they were all blind buys, meaning that I hadn't tried them beforehand. Would love to know your thoughts about these. Am I crazy? Do you really love some of these? If so, that's totally okay. We can still be fragrance friends, but I hope you enjoyed hearing my opinion on these.